Have you ever wondered which states would be the worst to live in during a SHTF situation? It's an intriguing question, isn't it? And today we're going to delve into that very topic. But first, for those who might not be familiar, let's explain what a SHTF scenario is. SHTF stands for shit hits the fan, a colloquial term often used in survivalist circles to describe a situation where society as we know it collapses. Now, we don't wish for such a scenario to happen, but it's always better to be prepared, right? And part of being prepared is knowing where you stand. That's why we're going to be looking at the 10 worst states to be in if a SHTF situation were to occur. But how do we determine which states are the worst? Well, we're going to be looking at a few key factors. First, we'll consider population density. In a SHTF situation, more people can mean more competition for resources, which can make survival more challenging. Next, we'll take into account the risk of natural disasters. Some states are more prone to earthquakes, hurricanes, or wildfires, which can exacerbate an already dire situation. Lastly, we'll consider the availability of resources. We're talking about things like fresh water, arable land, and hunting opportunities. These are essential for survival when the conveniences of modern life are no longer available. Now, before we begin, it's important to note that we're not suggesting that people living in these states are doomed or that these states are inherently bad. This is merely an analysis based on certain criteria which could affect survival in a SHTF scenario. Also, we won't be including states like Florida, Michigan, Texas, Colorado, Montana, Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, Alaska, or Maine in our list. These states have various strengths that could potentially make them more favorable in a SHTF situation. Now that we know what we're looking for, let's dive into the countdown starting with number 10. Starting the countdown at number 10, we have California. Now don't get me wrong, the Golden State has its charms. But when it comes to a survival situation, it's a different story. Let's look at why. First off, we can't ignore the high population density. In a crisis, resources become scarce and competition fierce. More people equals more chaos. And then there's the risk of natural disasters. Earthquakes and wildfires are sadly a frequent occurrence, adding another layer of unpredictability to the mix. But what about water, you ask? Well, California has had a long-standing issue with water scarcity. In a survival situation, access to clean water is crucial. But in California, you might find yourself in a dry spell. Despite its sunshine and beaches, California might not be your best bet when things go south. So, if you're making survival plans, you might want to look elsewhere. Moving forward, the 9th spot takes us to the East Coast with New York. New York, particularly the city itself, is renowned for its vibrancy and energy. However, in a survival scenario, these characteristics may not be as beneficial. The state's extremely high population density could be a significant issue in a SHTF situation. Imagine the challenges of navigating through millions of people in a crisis. Resources already stretched thin in normal circumstances would become even scarcer. Food, water, and other necessities would quickly become the currency of the day, with supplies dwindling rapidly. Moreover, New York's potential for severe winter weather adds another layer of difficulty. The harsh cold and heavy snowfall could make survival even more challenging, particularly if the power grid were to fail. In short, while New York is a fantastic place to visit and even live under normal circumstances, in a SHTF scenario, the city that never sleeps might become a nightmare. Next up, we have a tie between two Midwestern states, Illinois and Ohio at 8th and 7th spots. Now, when you think of the Midwest, images of vast farmlands and friendly folks might come to mind. But when it comes to surviving a SHTF scenario, these two states might not be your safest bets. Let's start with Illinois. It has a high population density, especially in cities like Chicago. Now, while having a lot of people around can be great for a lively Friday night, in a survival situation it can quickly turn problematic. More people mean more competition for resources, and in a disaster scenario, that's the last thing you want. Then there's the issue of natural disasters. Illinois is no stranger to tornadoes, which can cause significant damage and create chaos in a short span of time. If a tornado hits, the aftermath can be just as dangerous as the event itself, with power outages, blocked roads, and limited access to food and water. Moving on to Ohio, the state shares some of the same challenges as Illinois. It's also densely populated with cities like Cleveland and Cincinnati, housing a large number of residents. Again, this means that resources could be scarce in a crisis. Moreover, Ohio sits on the edge of Tornado Alley, making it vulnerable to these powerful storms. While tornadoes may not be as frequent here as in other states, the risk is still there. And let's not forget about resources. Both Illinois and Ohio have limited natural resources. They're not rich in forests or bodies of water, which could provide crucial sustenance in a survival situation. So, as you can see, while the Midwest may be the heartland of America, it might not be the safest place when disaster strikes. The high population density, risk of tornadoes, and limited access to natural resources make Illinois and Ohio less than ideal for survival. The heartland might not be the safest place when disaster strikes. Moving down south, we have Georgia at number 6. Now Georgia, lovingly referred to as the Peach State, is known for its southern charm and hospitality. But when it comes to survival, it might not be the best place to call home. Let's break down why. Firstly, Georgia has a high population density, particularly in urban areas like Atlanta. In a survival situation, competition for resources can become fierce, and densely populated areas can be hotspots for conflict. Secondly, Georgia is no stranger to the destructive power of hurricanes. These natural disasters pose a significant risk, especially considering the state's coastal location. Lastly, the state's hot, humid climate can amplify the challenges of survival. Not only does it make physical exertion more taxing, but it also creates a breeding ground for disease-carrying insects. So while Georgia might be a peach of a place in peaceful times in a survival scenario, the southern charm might not be enough to keep you safe in Georgia. Now we're entering the top 5 worst states for a SHTF situation. Let's take a moment to recap what we've covered so far. We've taken a deep dive into some of the states that, unfortunately, don't quite cut it when it comes to surviving a SHTF scenario. We started with the Golden State, where the combination of population density, water scarcity, and fault lines raised some serious questions about its viability. Next, we moved to the Empire State, a place known for its bustling cities and diverse culture, but its high population density and harsh winters make it a challenging place to survive when the going gets tough. Then we headed to the Midwest, where despite the abundance of agricultural resources, the harsh winters and tornadoes present substantial challenges. The Peach State was next on our list, with its humid subtropical climate and vulnerability to hurricanes making it a less than ideal choice for survivalists. But now we're getting to the crux of the matter, the top 5. The states that, based on our research and analysis, are the least suited for survival in a SHTF situation. These are the states where the challenges outweigh the benefits, where survival would require not just resilience, but a hefty dose of luck as well. We're talking about states with extreme weather conditions, high population density, and limited access to resources. States where, when the chips are down, the odds of survival are stacked against you. We won't reveal their names just yet. We want to keep you in suspense just a little bit longer. But we promise our next video will bring you all the details, the highs and lows, the ins and outs of these states, and why they rank as the top 5 worst states for a SHTF situation. So, stay tuned as we unveil the top 5 worst states for a SHTF situation in our next video. You won't want to miss it. Before we wrap up this video, let's take a moment to reflect on the importance of preparation. It's not about fear, it's about readiness. Now, if you found value in this guide, we'd greatly appreciate it if you would hit the like button. It helps us to reach more people and share this crucial knowledge, but we're not done yet. We've got plenty more survival wisdom to share, so if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to our channel. You'll be the first to know about our latest videos, packed with tips, tricks, and strategies that could make all the difference when the chips are down. And don't forget to click the bell icon to turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss a thing. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember, being prepared is the key. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.